So that Monday morning, I'd have to check and see when the email came through. But a press release came from WWE. WWE and Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer signed multi-year partnership. And mind you, it was like I had such a trying week the week before. There was like my schedule was low key free. I'm like, I'm about to get hype because WWE is going to Netflix, about to be some shit. And I saw that and I'm like, fuck. Because I don't want to see that shit. We get past everything we've talked about so far. Jey Uso beat Drew McIntyre. This nigga come out. Mind you, his logo's been in the ring. Man. Him and Jimmy Hart.
bless Jimmy Hart.
Hey, math. Let me ask you a question. When your op is across the street and you got a good yamin on him and whoever else next to him,
they both gotta get it.
Everybody could get it.
If you want a man and he getting stuck with you,
I'm sorry that it had to be you, Jimmy Hart. Cause I don't know what you said. I don't know if you said anything, but
Royal Rumble.
I knew who you were standing next to. So this man come out and he started talking about, well, you know something? I've had a lot of good tag teams and partnerships back in the day. Woo, I had the Macho Man, and niggas is like, boo, get the fuck out of here, boo. But, and I don't know how y'all watch Netflix. At this point, it's all subtitles. Mm-hmm. That shit is just new TV, boom, subtitles. So I had the shit on. It was the funniest subtitles before this was early in the show. They didn't know what song was playing, so it just said, bracket hip hop music playing. I cried when I saw that. The crowd shouts out to the Dome.
You know the music either.
Facts. Shouts out to Inglewood. They showed up and they showed out. That shit went up on the Netflix. Oh my God, this is the best image of the year. That shit said crowd booing.
Right above him. Right above his
that, because that's how the Netflix subtitles do. They're all at the top of the screen, at least on my TV.
No. We're just making sure that everybody is acknowledging.
No, let's be clear. But again, I want it to be clear. Nobody was trying to flim-flam. This is just how the show goes. And the funny thing is, I've spent the last 3 or 4 days since this happened listening to people talk about or theorize why this happened. Stevie Richards.
Were they black?
No. Well, all right. I'll say this.
I think his is bigger than him than a black thing. I think he's screwed so many people.
Well, let's talk about it.
This was a convergence. This was a convergence of people remember him say nigga.
Mm-hmm.
People seeing him MAGA.
Right.
And people, smart wrestling people knowing he's messed with the goddamn wrestlers and stabbed everybody in the back.
A whole liar.
Convergence. It's like, you know how you go into MapQuest or not MapQuest, Google Maps, and it'd be like, well, this is the gas-friendly way to get there, and this is the fastest way, and this is the one with the least mileage. That was all of those things, convergence to get everybody to the destination of boo.
now, because you're big facts. I wanted to be clear. This is an image of how YouTube.com/Black Rasslin. This is how Hulk Hogan showed up.
Yo, he got on the stakeout attire.
He got on the blood red bandana with the MAGA Powers Trump Vance Hogan t-shirt. That's how he walked off. I guess this is a private plane or jet. I don't know how these people roll.
He don't roll like that.
There's a lot of people who's
broke.
Well, the thing is, there's a lot of people who initially, and I mean, I imagine DDM, you probably heard this a lot as well. Shout out to Secretary of State. Immediately, the conversation was, oh, It's January. It's a couple of months from one of the more contentious elections. He was a obvious Trump person. It's politics.
No, it wasn't that. It like if I can just chime in here,
Go
I
in.
need to understand
Nigga.
that there are several MAGA supporters in WWE. Now,
Mhm.
granted, all of them are not public or
But
more discreet with it because they understand that they still need to make money and they still very much have things to gain or lose
Mhm.
from being so overt with their support. But there are people who are MAGA. There's some people who that got varsity jackets and we happy that they cashed in possibly that are like that. There's some people who are relatives of the Samoan dynasty who are
Mhm.
who are MAGA people. So
Mhm.
what the difference is half of here's the reality. More than half of registered voters who voted in this election did vote for Donald Trump.
right.
So we have to understand that at this point, it is not an anomaly or these people are not outliers. They represent more than half of the country. So you cannot, if we boo everybody who voted for Donald Trump, we would not have a program. And
We wouldn't be watching WWE.
it's not just WWE, honey.
Facts.
AEW, you wouldn't be watching them either. Your beloved Impact, it'll be slim pickings. This is across the board. Hulk Hogan did not get booed because he voted for Donald Trump. The problem with Hulk Hogan is not only did he vote for Donald Trump, but he went on a whole campaign, which is something for his brand that he should not have done. Then on top of that, the racist remarks and things being caught on tape. Then on top of that, his own daughter not wanting to be associated with him, his
Mhm.
ex-wife divorcing him and having not great things to say about him.
I don't
Then
know.
you have-
I'm not rocking with anything Linda has to say either, though.
well, okay, that's
She's
fair.
trash.
But also, too, you have the documentaries coming out about how he backdoored Jesse Ventura with the union talk.
There's a lot of that talk
And
this
that's
week
been
as well.
consistent. Every
Yeah.
single
Oh, yeah,
narrative,
we know that.
every
Yeah.
single book has been consistent.
You
Yeah.
know,
There's a reason why we didn't see both Jesse and Hogan at the Saturday Night's main event return not too long ago.
Didn't he
Exactly.
recently
The
cop to
Undertaker-
that?
Ventura recently said he don't fuck with Hogan.
right.
No. I thought Hogan was like, nah, I did it. I had the number one spot in the country. I mean, in the company.
Yeah, he said it in the documentary. He said it in the
Yeah.
documentary.
Yeah, he
I-
did.
To it.
I think the thing is because it's if you go
Hiding for a long time.
after you watch Ashe TV, go on YouTube and just do a Google search for or a YouTube search for Hulk Hogan lies. At a certain point,
It's him and LeBron James.
it's
He's worse than LeBron.
he's
son.
worse because
He worse
he'll
than LeBron.
he'll tell a lie.
Don't say this in front of Justin.
Shout out Justin. He'll tell a
LeBron is a
lie.
hero.
5 years later, he'll tell another. He'll expound on the lie and make it totally different. At one point, he said that because he always said that when Undertaker did the Tombstone in '91, and when he took the title, he always said that he fucked up his neck and back off of that. The third or fourth iteration of that lie was Undertaker pile drived him on the concrete in '74. Like I don't know if he's getting older. I don't know if he's just that bad of a liar. But like when you really look at what he said and what's going on since he's been in and out of the limelight, it's hard to know what to and not to trust.
I
Yo,
think
I'm gonna
the
tell you, the
reality
nigga that
is-
one of the niggas we not supposed to listen to. For the most part, I still don't care about things we aren't supposed to do.
Right.
I saw a link today on YouTube that says Jim Cornette talks about Hogan getting booed.
I saw that.
Boy,
I watched it.
Boy, if it wasn't the funniest thing I found,
You can tell when they don't like that motherfucker.
dying laughing. No, this is the first time he thought he was lying. Where's this time?
Right.
Yo,
Right.
And he just ran through all of them niggas had a good time cracking up at just like good nigga. It wasn't just that. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, it's this and it's this and this nigga did that.
Facts.
Yeah,
It's
if you get a chance, man, go on. That
For
is
real.
a very, very funny link.
And I think that's also too why a lot of newer talent who were approaching that legacy status do a lot of giving back. They do a lot of trying to make things good, because I think Hulk Hogan is a cautionary tale for a lot of people in how they do people in this business. And I think that some your Cenas, your Punks, your people like that are like, you know what? Maybe I need to, you know, give some stuff back. Um, I think it was CM Punk, and I'm quoting him here. He said something about in the beginning you learn, in the middle you earn, and in the end you return, you give back.
Ah, yeah.
Right. And it wasn't Cena. I think it was Punk. I'm sorry. I think it was Philip. And I think that Hulk Hogan never returned to the business. I think he thinks he's returned because he makes these appearances, but that's still very much you
It's
getting the
selfish.
check. And
It's
so
selfish.
you don't.
There's a reason why he returned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't see any mentorship. I don't see any
No.
lessons learned or anything like that. I think also too we have to remember that Hulk Hogan comes from a certain time.
Carney
And
time.
he comes from a time where the wrestlers were very selfish. It was a pirate's game. It was a very, no honor amongst thieves kind of business. You were lucky if you had a few friends. Whereas now the business is definitely that, but it's way different as far as honor and camaraderie and things like. And it's more of an institution. These new wrestlers, and I'm not a wrestler, so forgive me if I'm stepping on toes, but these new wrestlers have a lot more available to them, it's a lot more care and things about what they do than what that old guard had. It was pretty much you cleaning out your wound with whiskey or vodka, sewing it up yourself, and you get back out on that field. You look at the stories of
You don't know my life.
That's me after
the
every
funny
pod,
part,
every
though,
Thursday.
You don't know my life.
I'm gonna be
Sensational
honest
Sherry
about
and all of those girls. They didn't have these things.
I'm gonna be honest about Hogan though, right? And this
Talk
is the
about it.
thing: is Hogan, yes, was very, very successful. I don't know how much Hogan has to give back. Hogan wasn't great at anything but not maybe. He wasn't great at anything but being charismatic and coming across on screen. Something you can't teach to people, right? You just are or you aren't. And Vince saw that and he became Vince's avatar. Vince is like, this is the guy who I'm going to make successful with my booking and my commercial. And this is the thing. He don't got the skills to teach, to mentor. He's not going to teach a nigga how to be a good wrestler. He cuts cartoonish promos. What part of pro wrestling could he give to the game now? That nigga Hogan ain't it, man. Listen, Hogan was very, very successful.
I think I think that he does have something to give. I think that he can teach you he managed to have a pretty lengthy career. So that's something to be said in two different companies. I think also too, there's a lesson to be learned in how to manage your career. I think we don't think a lot about the value of how to manage your career when your time is over. And how do you keep things going? The stories of the Diamond Dallas's pages and people like that. I think he has had failed marriages. There's lessons in that for these people's lives post the ring. I think a lot of times when we think of giving back, we think about the ring, the business. Well, what about these people's mental health and lives when
you think his mental health is good?
When they owe to get out the ring? I'm not saying that, but even in darkness, there's a lesson in darkness. And there's still things that can be learned, even if you're learning what not to do. Because I grew up in a city where I've seen people addicted to drugs and things like that. And you know what they taught me? Don't touch that shit. So there are still things. I don't think that there's nothing.
But the dope dealers, cautionary tales aren't usually taught by the professors. You just witness those. He's a cautionary tale. I don't think he could sit in front of folks. I just don't think
that's not true, because
But
they
my
are
point was-
the counselors.
But my point is that I just don't think Hulk Hogan is the guy. Like, he was successful and he was the main guy, but he was the main guy built on shoulders when it was the early Hulkamania success. It's on
Yeah.
the shoulders of Vince and them.
We-
And when it was the WCW success, it's Nash and Bischoff and all them niggas over
Well,
there.
even before, I'll say, I was thinking about this today. Like, Hulk Hogan won his first WWF championship in '84. 7 years later was the Undertaker. 7-8 years later was Undertaker coming through and being the guy who, like, they built up to win the title for a week for Hogan to win it back.
For one fucking week.
We didn't talk about it was maybe 4 days. It was that Thursday and then that Tuesday Hogan got it back.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Undertaker riding out in the motorcycle, but I think at it, like, just like how Jordan is now a sneaker and most people aren't looking at Jordan as like people of a certain age they don't even know nothing about Jordan at that time. I'm not saying that's what wrestling is, but I think at a certain point there are times where those, like, people aren't hyping up Bruno Sammartino like they were when we were kids. There's been too much time. There's been too many people. Maybe he's a fucking racist. Politically, he's a goofy. He's a fucking liar. All this shit from the 4+ decades of Hogan being a person. Maybe what we're also seeing on top of all of that is that next class of, we're going to talk about what's cool and what we're going to define what is and isn't nostalgia. Maybe Hogan is outside of that bubble. Maybe it's like Fortnite, when the bubble it keeps getting smaller and smaller. At a certain point, Hogan's out there. He's out in the fucking, you know what I mean? You can't be confused as to why crowds booing. Even if he didn't say nigga, even if he didn't vote for Trump. He's also he's in his 70s. Come on. We don't. He's 71, I believe.
I 100% agree with you on that. But one thing that scares me, and this is not just with wrestling, this is in life, is all of these things may be true, but one thing that we can't do is rewrite history.
We can't. You're right.
And that's what I'm saying. In our quest, because see, rewriting history can go both ways.
Right.
And we have to be very careful about trying to erase people. It's just like we're going to erase Vince McMahon. Well, if you erase Vince McMahon, that's like taking one of the Infinity Stones out the gauntlet.
You can't. You can't get to Raw on Netflix without a Vince McMahon, without a Hulk Hogan, without a lot of that stuff.
We can acknowledge the black mark and say this guy's a piece of shit, but we have to be careful when we just say, "Oh, this person's a piece of shit, write him out." Well, you also learn from pieces of shit. You learn what not to do. You learn what's not good, so that it's a reminder to never do that shit again. When you try to erase all of those things out, guess what? We're going to get another Hulk Hogan. And if you erase history, we're not going to know how to deal with that.
I agree, but I also am of the mind that knowing that he did something that was so egregious that almost 10 years ago they took him out of the Hall of Fame for 3 years, maybe I don't then have his beer company logo sprawled across my ring.
Right.
When we do that stuff, you know, I think that there's certain things that they probably shouldn't have done with him, but the question, it's really going to be because there's been a lot of people like, hey, Hogan needs to do the NWO Hollywood and go black and white and just go into the heel, not realizing that pro wrestling gimmicks and motherfuckers really not liking you in real life isn't always going to jive, you know, 1-to-1. But I think realistically, it may be just seeing how WWE plays this. Are they going to be having him on building up to the next Saturday Night's Main Event? There's been conversations, people rumoring that maybe he will not necessarily be NWO Hollywood, but maybe if he's featured again, play into the booze, which I don't, again, none of it seems to make sense to me. I wouldn't have him on.
It's in poor taste.
That
It's
nigga
in
is
poor
Lady
taste.
Eloise.
Yeah.
Facts.
Problematic Lady Eloise.
Put them in the closet and wait till the show is done and then let.
It's definitely in poor taste. And I think that I think that behind the scenes there are some regrets. I'm not saying that they're going to stop making money off of Hulk Hogan, because he prints money to a certain degree, right?
Facts.
Think
We
that's
ain't gonna
over,
stop
Yeah.
making.
Make it.
But I think it was in poor taste. I think, like I said, we don't know what Stone Cold's relationship is, but Stone Cold has a whole deal.
Stone Cold. Stone
And
Cold
they
could have
had
been
a
hanging with
partnership
Travis
with
Scott. He be
them.
smoking weed, right? I'm sorry, Mimi.
He had a partnership with them. I just don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
So
And I want to be clear to the BRP universe. I'm not in any way defending or making excuses for Hulk Hogan
better not be.
at all. But one thing that you may have learned about me by now is that no matter how much I don't like you, I still can look at the weeds and pull it out.